Hollywood approved.
Happy New Year. Welcome to another edition of Tackle Shop Live.
Sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream?
All right.
The next
Scott Luckhoff, how you doing, buddy? Ben, what do you say? Mike Payer. Joseph, how you doing? Michael McCabe. Happy New Year, everybody. What's up, Rich? Johnny Kopp, man, the myth, the legend.
Keith Howard's in the house.
Keith Howard, all right.
Paul Batters, of course.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Paul?
Michelle, how are you? What's happening? Philip.
Stan Horn's in the house.
Stan Horn. Right
CCBM.
CCBM, Stan Horn, that's right. That's right. Man, how's everybody doing tonight? Man, we got a great show for you. Michael, how you doing? Philip, good. What's up? Good evening, everybody. And I hope everybody had a great holiday season. I know we did here at Tackle Shop.
Oh, we're still mid-season.
We are. We had
mid-holiday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matter of fact, we're kind of touching up on the old holiday cheer a little bit tonight. Busted out the McAllens.
Yeah, we had to do that because we got this great gift from Joey Orner, Hollywood approved.
Hollywood approved came in the house and set us up with these phenomenal little rocks glasses with the cigar attachment. We got our favorite My Father resting there.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I kind of like that, man. It's
let's check this out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers.
Happy New Year.
Cheers, everybody. Happy New Year.
I can't get enough.
Oh, yeah. That's what we're talking about, Joey.
Yeah, buddy.
Hollywood approved. Thanks,
Hollywood
buddy.
approved.
That thing worked out perfect. Great gift from Joey. Thanks, pal. Long-time listener.
'Tis the season of brown liquor.
Yep. JR Matthews, how you doing, man? Todd Langle, what's up? Happy holidays to everybody. Coming up on our New Year's Eve tomorrow, which
we got a tactical decision on our New Year's Eve plans.
Yeah, well, I was going to do something cool on that, but about 5 minutes ago, me and George decided we're not going to work tomorrow.
Yeah, we're out.
So me and George are going fishing tomorrow.
Special guest.
With a special guest, Nick Wink.
Cameraman Nick.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Yep. So I'm Mike Acord. This is George Acord. And behind the camera is Nick Wink. And we are Tackle Shop Live, your hosts.
CG Gottwalt headed south for some fun in the sun.
Yep.
And he is unable to make it tonight. He is in transition from south to north.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're going to miss him.
We're going to miss him. Absolutely.
But, the show must go on.
Show must go on. And we have a good one for you tonight. We're going to kind of re-look at 2021 and some of the things that worked for us out on the water in different various situations.
Our main tactics.
Yeah, the main stuff that we kind of
relied on.
Not only relied on, but perfected and sharpened up and tried some new stuff and figured out some new stuff. So we're going to go over all that with you guys.
Some of our some of the adjustments that we made on we picked five tactics because we didn't want to have a 6-hour show.
Right.
Cameraman Nick has his own tactic he's going to bring into the mix later, something that he relied on all year.
Yep.
But the concept of tonight's show is for us to take the 5 that made the cut. And these are things we've talked to you all about, all the time. But we're going to go into like the nuances of some things that occurred throughout the year that we learned, which led to some adjustments on some of these techniques.
Yep.
From north to south.
Yeah.
From, the Canada border to as far south as we made it this year, and how we made adjustments and throughout the seasons. And, we just thought we would share some of our some of the stuff that became a big player for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Trenton, Carrie, how you doing? Andre Albanez, how you, man? Appreciate everybody for stopping by. But overall, the year itself for us is it's very humbling to us. You guys, our listeners and watchers of Tackle Shop Live are just completely awesome people. Our customers are the best customers ever anybody could ever have. Very, very humbling to me and George. And we just want to tell you guys that we really appreciate it. We love doing this show. We appreciate all the thanks for doing this, and we love the show kind of stuff that we get all the time, and it means a lot. It really does. You guys really don't know how much that means when you say it to us, but we appreciate you guys very much, and we just want to kind of pass that on.
Yeah.
We had a great 2021 season here in the shop and in the tackle business. It was a tough one, but we worked through it, and you guys worked through it, and we're very patient with getting tackle. I mean,
we made it work.
We made it work.
We made it work. People were,
yep.
I think everybody was very understanding with, the shortages and the new normal, as you will. And, it worked. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. When we're out fishing and we're putting the boat in the water in the morning and somebody comes up and says, "Hey guys, watch your show every week. Love it. Appreciate that." That's
why we do it, really.
It really makes us feel good because, you don't really have a total feel for how it went. But you know what? We're getting a lot of positive reinforcement. So I'm happy to report that Tackle Shop Live has been extended for another year.
we got picked up.
The official announcement.
Yeah,
it's on, baby.
We're picked up for 2022. We're not
It's
going
on.
nowhere. We're
It's
not going
on.
anywhere.
It is on. And we are going to do more of the same. We are also going to try to feature more guests.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was on the phone yesterday with a couple of potential guests that are going to be coming on and talking about, just maybe a technique or an area or, whatever. But
next week we're going to have on Tom Mills, and some of you guys know him. We just respect the hell out of Tom Mills. He's a great guy. He's a rep in the industry and a hell of a sportsman, not only a fisherman, but everything else. He's just,
I don't know how he does it all.
Outdoor guy. I mean, he just hunts deer. He does pheasant hunting. He goes to Kansas, and he does all this stuff. And he's just a great guy. And he really, we're gonna have him on next week, and it's gonna be cool because we're gonna get some of his perspective from not being a rep, number one, but number two, we're really gonna get into his fishing because the guy is a awesome stick.
Oh, he's
he's a phenomenal smallmouth fisherman, and we just respect the hell out of him. So it's going to be a really good time. Yeah,
from the Great Lakes to the Thousand Islands to the Susquehanna River. I mean, to the tidal waters. I mean, this guy will catch a fish every time, all the time. Yeah. He's got some great things he does a little different.
He does.
And we're going to see if we can unlock a little bit of the
we will.
Millsy's vault.
Yeah, Millsy. We're going to get into him, and
can't wait.
It's going to be fun. We're going to have that next week on Tackle Shop Live. Yeah, Nick.
And just for your listeners here, we've been talking, and we're taking the show to the next level.
Oh yeah,
in 2022, and helping your listeners become even better, well-rounded anglers.
Absolutely. Yep. We're gonna continue.
That's the plan.
We're going to continue with the tips and techniques and breaking it down because you know what, we all learn, and this is tonight's show is really going to show how we learned this year and what we really perfected on and what we found out about some of this stuff, and we're going to get right to that right now. Some of these top 5 techniques for us in 2021.
Hey guys, before you get into your top techniques, can you and George kind of do a quick overview of how your season went? before you even get into the techniques.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think fishing wise for us, it was a fantastic year.
I thought it was.
We've had some exceptional fishing starting right off in the get go in February and March. This past winter, it started off great. It really started off great. We
had our local Susquehanna River fishery from north to south. We fished the whole river. All different conditions. Even in the dog days of summer, we had fantastic fishing. We also spent some quality time on one of our favorite places on earth, the Upper Chesapeake Bay. We did not make it to the Potomac this year.
That's first in a long time.
Yeah, like 40 years.
Yeah, long.
We did not make it to the Potomac River.
We wanted to give it a rest.
That's bad on us. But we had some wonderful tidal water fishing on the Upper Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah.
We made it to the North Country.
Yeah.
We went up and fished the Thousand Islands. Caught some big fish. Caught a bunch of small fish.
Yeah.
Got out on the lake.
Yeah,
so it was a great year.
Yeah.
It was a great year as an overview.
Got down striper fishing like we always do in the fall.
Yeah, we did some really good striper fishing,
and that was really good. But overall, for us, it was a really good year.
I thought so.
We fished some tournaments together, me and George.
We
had a very successful tournament.
We had a win.
We had a win.
We had a second.
We had a second.
We had a fourth.
And we had a fourth.
And we had a DQ.
We had a DQ.
And we went from A to Z on that bad boy.
So that was fun to fish some tournaments with George on a body of water we haven't fished in a long time. But again, sharpening these techniques that we're going to talk about. We used a lot of these techniques in those tournaments and really sharpened them up and caught fish and were competitive because we realized it's funny. Like every year, George, and you can kind of get on this a little bit with techniques. Every year, there's a couple of things that really come back or just are just hot. One year it's this, the next year it's that, another year it's this, but there's always something. And the key to a good fisherman is to pick that up pretty quickly and then kind of run with it and learn it. So starting off with that, I think because it started in the spring for us right away, is our number one pick for the top 5 techniques, and that's chatterbait.
Yeah.
What can you say about chatter? It's nothing new. It's been around for a long time, but it was exceptional this year. And we just really had a great year on chatterbaits again.
Yeah, and it was interesting. First of all, we caught fish on a chatterbait consistently from extremely early in the year.
Yeah.
To literally, I would say 40-degree water temperature at early winter. We caught them on tidal waters. We caught them on lakes. We caught them on all over our river, from the reservoir stretches to the free-flowing stretches. We had some of those memorable days. Mike and I had one of our probably top 5 days ever.
Yeah.
And every time that something like that happened, it was an adjustment to the bait in the form of the trailer and the retrieve.
And the presentation.
That absolutely made a difference. And we've said it, over the years in our chatterbait and our swim jig shows, we've talked about the importance of the trailer. And, this year we took the same chatterbait. We throw the jackhammer, like 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
And what was being trailed on that made a great difference, whether it was a swim bait or a cross style bait, or whether it was a fishtail type bait, a more subtle.
And I think
I
think one of the things that
it made a difference.
I think one of the things that happened is we weren't afraid to even if it wasn't working, we weren't afraid to change the trailer and make those adjustments with the trailer, and then also make the adjustments with the retrieve. And talk to us.
Retrieve was big.
Yeah, so talk to us about the couple of trailers that really really kind of shined for us this year. And
Yeah.
and we found throwing all the time. We kept going to over and over.
So early season, pre-spawn, be it smallmouth fishing, be it largemouth fishing in the colder water temperatures, we had some really good success with a swim bait as a trailer. But what was important with the swim bait was the scent, I believe. So the Kitech and the Jackal swim bait are scented heavily with that squid scent that those Japanese baits are famous for. And when that water's cold, I mean, at least in our heart, we believe that this is the trailer.
Yeah.
Be it the black and blue, be it the green pumpkin, be it the red of some sort. That played. That seriously played to where you made a change to this trailer and you started getting bit. That's when that's when you're turning like a couple fish and some missed opportunities into when they're eating it.
Yeah.
You made the right change. So that was our early deal. And it seemed like it played everywhere we went in that early pre-spawn. That Kitech trailer played.
Yep.
We did really well with the Kitech on the tidal water. That really played a big role. And then in some of our tournaments that we fished early, the Kitech trailer was a big player for us and made a big difference for us. I think
it did.
With the fish that we caught down there, even just nutsing around wherever we went, that when you're dealing with that little bit colder water, that really made a difference.
Yeah, and it seemed to be really, for us, it seemed to be really a water temperature thing, and it's kind of been our card that we played for years now.
Yeah.
In colder water,
Yeah,
we really gravitate toward that squid scented bait that and we like both the Jackal Rhythm Wave and the Kitech in all of its various sizes.
the fat mostly though.
Yeah, the regular fat swing impact fat.
Yeah.
And the regular Rhythm Wave, the 3.8 size is a serious player.
Then what do we get into? What other trailers were our go-to?
Once we got into the peak of the spawn and the warmer water temperatures, it really varied, and it was really dictated by the conditions. And what I mean by that was some days we had super low clear water. I remember a day, I would call it primarily post-spawn, but there was a few spawning fish left, and these fish were schooling on small, some kind of minnow, but smaller minnows. This was a river deal. We were out on the main river in front of a giant spawning creek. And these fish had filtered back out of the creek, and they were on various super shallow, super clear areas on the creek. And they were very, very picky. And the stealth blade, the Chatterbait, the stealth blade, which is the real subtle, the clear Lexan blade, it's a real subtle bait, paired up with, again, and the trailer made all the difference here, paired up again with the Kitech, but this time in the standard swing impact. So they were on these bait fish. The water was real clear, so we went with something we actually would fish probably more in the fall, but we went with a shad color. With a shad color. Now, what's interesting about this setup was we went from missing a lot of fish, a lot of short strikes, to these fish instantaneously choking this bait, and they were all big.
Yeah, that was a big change, because we were dealing with we were doing a lot of green pumpkins and blacks,
and the harder thumping bait,
and then made an adjustment. Just made that adjustment, and all of a sudden you're swinging a ton of fish in a boat.
And they were choking. They went a lot of short strikes, a lot of missed fish, a lot of barely caught fish, and then they went up with these fish we were watching feed on this bait. We literally could see them. They started eating this bait, and we caught them really good.
And the funny thing is that the next week it would rain, and the waters, all of the waters, you know, wherever we fished would stain up. And then you'd have to start all over again. You have to figure out your bite, and the, you know, the black and blues and the green pumpkins, you know, played a big role. But even that white, again, you know, the white in the right conditions, you know,
when we were on shad, when we were on fish that were completely focused on shad, some sort of a white bait, and we were throwing a lot of the they call this color Clearwater shad. We were throwing a lot of Clearwater shad.
That bait was really good for us
with a white trailer
in the jackhammer.
In the regular jackhammer. We had some cloudy water conditions, but these fish were completely focused on shad.
They were. The crayfish bite just wasn't there, and
you had to fish them shad colors.
And you had to fish those shad colors.
And you had to fish a boot foot trailer.
And it was hard to do because the water said for you to throw black and blue, and it really wanted you to throw green pumpkins with some brighter trailers, and it just
wasn't happening.
You weren't getting bit. So, you know, we made those adjustments, and that lasted for a long time, you know, that bite. And then we had our day.
Yeah, we had the day.
We had our day.
The hammer day.
Where it was raining, completely raining like crazy, and the water was really dirty, but there was some clarity in some of the different areas if you could find it.
Not a lot.
And it wasn't a lot. And the water was up, and the rivers were swollen. And we got on a black and blue chatterbait bite with that black blade. That was the key. Was one of the keys was the black blade, but the other thing was the trailer, and we made another adjustment on the trailer.
Oh, that day was all about the adjustment.
Yeah,
we were we started off the day throwing a swim bait. We were throwing a Reaction Innovations Little Dipper in their black and blue color. They call it the penetration color.
Mm-hmm.
We were throwing that on a black and blue jackhammer, and these fish were ripping the tail off this swim bait every other cast. I mean, literally like a pack of swim baits in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe catch one. And we made 2 adjustments that day that changed the bite. I mean, immediately.
Yeah.
One was we went to a crawl style trailer.
And I think that was one of the big changes was the trailer.
And
that helped get the bites.
We actually started with a rage crawl, but this was one of those days where you literally caught so many fish that it was we ran out of rage crawls, and we dug around through our crawl selection, and we came up with the turbo crawl from Z-Man, which we throw a lot. Our main use for this bait is to cut it back a little bit and use it as a jig trailer because it's very durable. We had this is kind of a cool story because when we put this trailer on, combined with a retrieve modification that was total money, we literally had one brand new trailer and one that came off of a jig that was laying on the floor of the boat that was cut back, and we literally pounded fish. I mean, big numbers all day. At the end of the day, we had the same 2 trailers, each minus a claw, and no telling how many fish they caught. But the buoyancy of this bait, combined with the retrieve
which
Mike put together.
Yeah, that retrieve was the deal. It was
totally critical.
You know,
and it's a lesson learned.
So many people throw the chatterbait. And one of the best ways to throw a chatterbait is just to chuck it out and reel it back. I mean, it's hands down is, you know, the best retrieve I think you could start out with, and probably 85% of the time will catch you all the fish you want. But this year, for some reason, that yo-yo technique where we just kind of swam that thing and let it fall. We let it fall down to the bottom, and you pick it up and let the current just chatter it real easy, and then let it fall again to the bottom and pick it up, let it chatter real easy and let it fall to the bottom. That little bit of change was unbelievable. They went from missing a lot of fish to those fish gulping that bait down and smashing that bait and catching every single one of them. And it was a huge, for that day, it was huge, but all through the year, we did that. We talked about it on the show several times. So
Yeah.
and that's why we're kind of talking about it now as one of our top 5 techniques, because it was so good of a change in presentation that fall, that pick it up and just let it, kind of tick real easy, but chatter nice, it just would fall and chatter very
and
nicely.
it's a harder way to fish it.
It's very hard.
I mean,
to
you're going to
fish.
get snagged a lot. You're going to have to chase the bait down a lot. I had a day on the upper Chesapeake Bay on a big grass flat where I was getting some bites and occasionally catching a fish on a standard chatterbait retrieve, making contact with the grass, popping it through the grass, yada, yada, yada. But when I went to that yo-yo technique of swim it, let it fall down into the grass, pop it up, yo-yo it up, pop it through a clump of grass and let it fall back down, I really had a really good half day of fishing on that technique. And that retrieve, you have to throw that into your mix. You have to experiment with that. And a lot of times when we talk about these experiments, it's because you're getting bites. If you're getting bites and you're not converting, that is your clue to start making some changes. So you look at your trailer style, you look at your color of your bait, you look at a lot of things, you look at your retrieve, you look at a lot of things, and you start making obvious to subtle changes, and you'll know real quick because they will eat this bait. They will go from what you were experiencing to fish eating the bait.
What do you got, Nick?
And guys, along with that yo-yo technique, did you have to change the weight of the lure? What weight were you using?
Well, weight's always a big issue. And if you're not getting down to the bottom and really contacting the bottom now, and if you're in a grass situation, you might get hung up on the grass and you need to go heavier to punch down through it. But that's a big thing. You got to everything's got to kind of blend together. So weight was a big deal for us. We messed around with quarter, 3/8 and half, but mostly 3/8 is our go-to in the current. But half ounce, when we're in the grass, we definitely like to throw a half ounce around to kind of get that same feel. But because of the grass, you need something a little heavier. One of the questions we have here is razor shads and Zakos. Are they good on the jackhammers? Well, absolutely great on the jackhammers. And when George first started talking, the third trailer that he said was a fishtail trailer.
I call them fish,
yeah, and that's like more of a fishtail style trailer, and they're designed for trailering on the back of a jackhammer. And there's a bunch of companies. There's the Zakos, which I think was the original one, and then the
original one, and let's be clear about this,
was Lake Fork.
Was the Lake Fork live magic shad.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the sneaky, silent chatterbait. When the chatterbait first hit, that became the pros' choice of chatterbait trailer whenever they were fishing grass. And I mean, it put Lake Fork back up on the map. That's how many of these things that they were buying. So, that fish style trailer, that's where the Zako came from. And that is where the razor shad from Z-Man came from. And so many other companies make them. I mean, the Blade Minnow from Strike King, Big Bite Bait has that
was really hot this year.
They have one I forget what it's called, but it's the Kamikaze Swim On.
Yeah, that thing was dynamite this year.
And those fish style trailers really seem to play well in grass.
Yeah, go through the grass
really
nice.
Seem to play well in grass. They really seem to play well in the spring spawn period. They are a big time deal. If you're fishing spring spawn period grass, chatterbait, make sure you have some fish style trailers in your box. and they're all fantastic.
You know, we're fishing. Another question here from Andre is, are we running straight braid? Or are we using braid fluorocarbon, or what are we using? You know, George got me on this kick of fluorocarbon. So we're using in open water, say situations and rock and smallmouth fishing, we're fishing fluorocarbon probably 85%, 90% of the time.
Or more. I mean, I personally fish, I kind of make it simple. I fish all my chatterbaits on 15-pound fluorocarbon.
Yeah, and
All of them.
I was the opposite. I used to do a lot of braid fishing in grass, and I
used to as well.
I still am, but I fished with Greg DePalma for 2 years in a row now. Now you gotta understand, when I fish with Greg, it's last minute. I call him up and I say, "Bro, I didn't get anything together. I'm fishing all your stuff today." And he's like, "Oh yeah, man, you don't need to bring anything. Just come on down." So I'll throw, you know, a famous Texas tackle bag together from the shop here, and with a few things, and I would run down with him, and he fishes all his chatterbaits on 15-pound fluorocarbon, and even in that grass. And I caught a lot of fish doing that with him, and there's no doubt about it, but I don't like it. It's a lot of work in the grass to fish a fluorocarbon.
It is.
And trying to rip it out of that grass. It's really a lot of work. If I had my stuff, I know I would have switched to a straight braid, but that water was clear, so I went to braid fluorocarbon leader just because the water was clear. But I guarantee you, I would have popped through that grass a lot better. You just work so hard in the grass with fluorocarbon, but it works, and those guys do it, and it really does work. It's different than what a lot of people are doing, so maybe they're getting more bites. I can tell you, when I fished with Greg for 2 years, it was the best 2 days I ever had in my life on the bay, you know, with numbers of fish. So there's something to it. It made me, and then George also pushing me to switch. Plus, he changed all my reels out to fluorocarbon. So,
Right. I mean, you know,
so
your reels, my reels.
I didn't really have a choice in that matter, but it really works. And we did do mostly fluorocarbon fishing last year.
Yeah, I'm big on the fluorocarbon, and
I can go either way in the grass, though, guys. I really can.
I mean, I have something that might sound a little like conspiracy theory, black helicopter type talk for you, but I think in highly pressured waters, which is basically everywhere I fish, I really think that the vibration and the sound of braid affects the bite. And I know that sounds stupid, and I'm probably going to get ridiculed for it, but I believe that. And that is what initially switched me to fluorocarbon, and I have not looked back.
I think,
I have a love affair with 15-pound high seas fluorocarbon for that procedure, and
it's just,
I think that's the way I'm rolling right now, Mike.
Yeah, I know. And you're in the grass, though, man. There's so much stretch. You got to. I mean, when you're breaking it loose, it's like you're killing somebody with this rod, you know, trying to break it loose. But in some situations, as it gets thicker and thicker. So, but
yeah,
I'm not totally sold on it. Maybe going to 20-pound wouldn't stretch as much and it would go nicer. I don't know. I'm gonna mess around with it some more. We'll you know what? Next year for 2022, line is going to be a big thing for me, to mess around with line, with different techniques, and change my line a lot more.
Well, and that's important because, you know, really we're spoiled. I just want to let everybody know that we are all incredibly spoiled by the line choices that we have at our fingertips.
Yeah, Paul Batters, he says, you know, going to 17 in the grass works better for him.
Yeah.
And I believe that little
and
thicker
I do
line,
too. I think that's a great point.
I think it'll go through there a little better. So what not we use, Vince, we, you know, we're polymer knot guys, you know, that's just what we tie. We tie polymer knots.
We do.
And they never fail. They seem to hold up really well. We don't get crazy with some different knots. The only other knot I tie is a Jimmy Houston swing knot. And I do that only on certain situations. It
just looks like a lot of work to me.
The swing knot?
Yeah.
That's pretty easy.
You just, the only problem with that is in grass, you have more tags,
I ain't got no time for that.
but it's a pretty strong knot.
I'm a
Protects.
Palomar knot guy.
It's good for the rocks because there's a lot of knot there. So it's good for the rocks, but I'll tie that occasionally. So that's kind of like number one. That's our number one of our top 5 that we just had so much success with. I know it's pretty boring because everybody's fishing them, but just take it to the next level. Take some of those things that we said and try them. Don't say, "Oh, I'm not getting bit," or they're short strike. I'm gonna shift, change to something else. Just try messing with that bait and that Met Retrieve and those trailers.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of on the radar that we're gonna sidebar here for just a quick minute. There's a little bit of on the radar
to make some even more changes
on the radar,
and here they are.
just in case your Chatterbait box isn't big enough, or heavy enough, or expensive enough, or full enough. We have been playing with and talking to you all about Z-Man's latest offerings, the Big Blade, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, the Mini Max. So the Big Blade, in case you can't figure it out by looking at it, it's big.
It's big.
It's got a big blade. So here's a Big Blade, and here is a jackhammer blade for comparison. So it's at least a third bigger. Now, we have spent some time with the Big Blade. So the Big Blade's got a bigger hook, and the Big Blade comes in half, 5/8, and 3/4. Depending on the trailer, the Big Blade is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So if you put, for example, and I'm not going to break down every trailer we've run on this thing because it's been a lot, but if you put a standard diesel minnow, a regular 4-inch diesel minnow on a 1/2 ounce Big Blade, you get a really aggressive hunting type action. If you put a 5-inch diesel minnow on the same exact bait, it really tracks in a much more predictable manner.
Yeah.
And it's not quite as erratic. So
that was our big find with that bait.
That was our big find with that bait.
The trailer dictates the
plus the weight of the bait,
the action.
Yeah. So you're going to toggle back and forth between, say, 1/2 and 3/4. You're going to toggle back and forth between, say, a 4-inch swim bait or a 5-inch swim bait, or like an Ultra Vibe speed crawl from Zoom, or the Mag Ultra Vibe speed crawl from Zoom. Those are the comparisons that we're making there. And the second on the radar bait that we feel that you need to get serious about if you're a Chatterbait connoisseur is the Mini Max, which we also talked about briefly a few episodes ago after a day of experimenting with it.
The big key with that is it's the big hook.
This has got so they downsized the hook on the Mini Max,
but it's still heavy duty.
But it's a heavy hook.
It's not that little 1/8 ounce little thing that that's out there already.
No, so this is it's smaller than a jackhammer hook. It's actually a 2.0 hook, but it's not a little flimsy wire 2.0 hook. You can use a big rod, big line, and catch big fish. But it's very subtle. This bait is very, very subtle. It has a very, very tight blade wobble to it, and it's a subtle bait. And again, the trailer was critical, and we found that with that smaller bait, the smaller, like the Swing Impact Kitech, was perfect. So that's on the radar for you, and that kind of wraps up part 1 on our hot techniques for 2021. Right?
Absolutely. So moving on to the next one, and these are going a little quicker now because we really had a lot with the Chatterbait, but the second top of our top 5 in second place is the Jerkbait. Again, it's, we talk about this all the time. It's something that I really feel like 2021 brought light to the jerkbait to a lot of people. Anybody who watched any of the Bassmaster Elite Series tournaments and also, the major league stuff, everybody was throwing jerkbaits, and they were, they were catching a ton of fish. They were fishing. The Bassmasters Classic this year was won on a jerkbait. So it brought a lot of light to the jerkbait. I am a jerkbait junkie. I just throw a jerkbait like a freaking madman. I love them. Me and George have like 4 boxes of jerkbaits, and we just, over the years we've collected them. We every time something comes out new, we love to try it.
It's major.
But we really some of the different things we did with jerkbaits this year were messing with the lips, I think, more than anything. We got into much more so this year. We got into some of the deeper lip stuff. We got into trying those and seeing what that was about and presenting these baits differently than a lot of people and getting the bait down in the fish's face a little bit more. But the jerkbait for us, again, produced a ton of fish. Everywhere we went, we just caught a lot of fish on a jerkbait. And we messed with some technique and we messed with some different things. And I just tell you, for me, it's very, very popular.
Yeah.
It's interesting you guys talked about you messed with the different lips, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's something very important that went along with that. It's because you could see it.
Yeah.
Because of another technology you were using.
Exactly.
Was the Panoptic. So
yeah,
you could mess with those lips a little bit better because you can visually see what's going on.
I think that was a big thing with the lips and with the jerkbait this year, which a lot of guys learned was, a lot of guys bought the Panoptics. A lot of guys bought the live sonar, and we found that the jerkbait and the swim bait were 2 baits that you could really fish in that, on that scope, and people had a lot of success with. Me and George, not so much, but people had a lot of success with the jerkbait, and they, all the stuff that you saw and read about was, getting to the bait to those fish and having that bait work with those fish. So that was really, a big deal with the jerkbaits this year was, forward facing sonar and how that, some of the baits to use for that and how you could catch some of those fish. But for us, it was getting the bait down to those fish a little differently. And another thing was from Hank Cherry was the new Stunna jerkbait, which was a slow sinker. Now,
real slow.
Yeah, it's not anything new. It's been around. Megabass makes a couple of them, and there's a few other ones that are actually sinking. The Countdown being one of them. But
I think Lucky Craft was one of the first slow sink baits on the market.
Yeah,
I think it was their 95.
And for us,
pointer.
And I think for me in particular, I felt like I was getting the bait down to where the fish were that were pressured very hard with jerkbaits. I was putting the bait in a different angle to them, and I was catching a lot of fish on jerkbaits this year. I did really super well. And then we had some other big adjustments with jerkbaits this year, and that was just recently was the World Minnow from Shimano. They came out with the World Minnow, which totally put on another phase of jerkbait fishing, and that's
movement when it's not moving.
A visual, really high visual bait that has a lot of visual parts to it that you can dead stick, and it still has that movement that you really want when you're dead sticking, and just knocked it out of the park with that. So that kind of at the end of the year just put icing on the cake for me. And I've just been loving that bait, man. It's just been great.
Yeah, I have a couple different takes on the whole jerkbait thing because I probably fished a jerkbait more this year from beginning to end than I normally do. And I'm a big jerkbait guy as well. I love fishing a jerkbait. I incorporated it a lot more into my reservoir fishing with Panoptics as a really good tool to get on fish that I actually see. I didn't do really good with it, but I caught a few. I'm learning. But to me, my biggest take on jerkbaits and what really was my takeaways from this year, because I had a fantastic jerkbait year.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to see a grown man cry? I had some people crying in the boat this year. I mean, it was terrible. But my thing is, you know, you don't need to own every jerkbait that's made in your box.
Why not?
Because it's too much. What you do need to do is you do need to have yourself a nice selection of sizes and depth range. And what I really think that you should focus on is learning how either aggressive or subtle those baits are. Now, bear with me as I go down this path here because I'm getting to an end result. So if you are faced with, and we'll just take a situation that's occurring right now. If you are faced with an awesome warm weather type pattern such as we are, okay, where these fish are getting fired up and real aggressive. You know, we talked about the 3-day rule to you guys 100,000 times. Well, we're on about the 5-day rule now. So, you know, I want to go and revert back to a more aggressive, wider wobble, bigger presence jerkbait. And I'm just giving an example here so you can follow my logic. On the other flip side, and I'm gonna pick up one of my favorite subtle jerkbaits here, the Megabass Vision 110 +1 Junior. Okay. This is one of my bad boys right here. This is my little sniper, subtle but deadly. I can put this bait down a little deeper than other smaller baits, but just as deep as bigger baits, but it's subtle and it makes fish bite. So when I get that cold front, when I get those less than favorable conditions, you're saying, well, George, why are you even messing with a jerkbait under those circumstances? And that's a fair question. I'm going to give it to you. Well, I'm going to catch a bigger fish on the jerkbait than I am going to catch on an average on, say, a Ned Rig. You know, typically when it gets a big cold front like that, for numbers, I'm going to switch up to a spinning rod and a drop shot or a Ned Rig or a little tube. But if I'm focused on catching big fish, then I'm going to forego the number of bites for the quality of the bites. And that's where knowing these jerkbaits really plays. So my takeaway for you on 2021, the jerkbait made our list in the top 5 because we rely on it just about every time we go fishing. But
we're gonna be throwing that tomorrow for sure.
What?
Gonna be
I have like 3 of them tied on.
Gonna be game on.
But my biggest takeaway for you is learn the jerkbaits you have. Learn which ones are very wide and aggressive, and learn which ones are very subtle. Learn which ones will slowly sink. Have some suspend dots with you to as we get in these colder months to suspend the ones that want to slowly rise. Okay? And don't be afraid to make these adjustments. Don't be afraid to experiment with some, you know, out of your comfort range colors. And remember this as far as color is concerned. Sunny day, clear water, we want some translucence. We want to be able to see through our bait. I'm going to show you the greatest sunny day, clear water color known to mankind, and it's a ghost minnow. Okay? It's a ghost minnow. All right? Everybody and their brother makes a ghost minnow. This is a sunny day, clear water bait. Is it only a sunny day, clear water bait? Obviously not, but this is what I'm talking about a translucent, they call it a ghost minnow for a reason. Cloudy day, we need something with a little more presence. So let's get something that's painted. You know, this is a 300 KVD. This is a bad little machine right here. This color is called Pro Bone. You get yourself a cloudy day. You know, you reach for a Pro Bone, you reach for a Lucky Craft chartreuse shad, or you reach for one of the greatest jerk baits ever made, which is a tweener. and that is a Vision 110 and HT Ito Tennessee shad. Okay, so that's just kind of like, I'm not looking to get into a jerkbait show here, but my takeaways from 2021 are: know your action of your bait, know your colors, and fish your jerkbait.
And
Fish it.
and play with your depths. Majority of the jerk baits have the regular lips on them that go, 4 to 5 feet. Mess around with those 7s to 10s foot depths and with a jerk bait and see what happens. I mean, it's something that's a lot of fun.
Well, and if you see those fish up off the bottom, that's telling you how deep to fish your jerkbait. You don't want to go below those fish, as most of you already know. It's okay to be above them, but if you're in 10 foot of water and you're seeing a lot of fish activity on your electronics and say 6 feet, a standard lip jerkbait's going to get you down to 5 feet, worst case scenario. But if you're in 10 to 15 to 20 feet of water and those fish are 12 to 14 feet deep, you're going to have to go to an extended lip bait. You're going to have to go to a Vision 110 +1, which is
you got the different lips, and that's
a major tool.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And what's pretty cool, guys? If all your listeners have been paying attention through our tournament talk over the year.
Yeah.
I mean, the jerkbait's been a huge player.
It is.
That's George.
That's
I
what
feel like you were talking about it every week.
It was every week.
It was huge, and that's that's one of the reasons why we do tournament talk, to see what the trends are and what's happening out there with different, with these guys that are cutting edge, so that there's some of the stuff that you want to try. Because I'm telling you, as I said in the beginning of this show, there is going to be techniques that shine over other things just because of, I don't even know why. Nobody knows why, but one thing will get hot over the other. And it's funny. It's across the country how
look,
different things get really good. It's just amazing.
Just look at the last 2 years on the Elite Series. Okay. The Elite Series is, you better bring your big boy pants and you better come to play, or else they're not just going to take your lunch money. They're going to put you in the unemployment line. Okay. Look at this Patrick Walters.
Yeah.
And what he has done with a jerkbait on Panoptics for the last 2 years, particularly 2 years ago. Yeah. I mean, this guy was on Lake Fork, Texas.
Well, it was
in the freaking summer.
Yeah.
In standing timber, where no one even thought about it, catching these fish off of his scope on a
jerkbait. Yeah.
So, and if you remember that tournament, it's exactly what our synopsis of 2020, depending on the depth he marked them, he either picked up a Vision, a Vision +1, or a Duo Realis jerkbait.
Yep, absolutely.
Because all three of them went to 3 different depths, and he would just say, I'm looking at my grid lines here. Let me make my cast here. There's my jerkbait. There I got like fish number 80.
Jack Hinkle, how you doing, buddy? Vince Dart, man, you bet. Most of the time we're throwing jerkbaits on a bait caster, and we don't use a spinning rod for jerkbaits. But
what's the rod, Mike?
MBR 783C, bad to the bone, medium heavy.
Bad to the bone
jerkbait rod. But I get in arguments all the time with customers in here. Not arguments, but
fights.
Debates. We don't fight. I won't argue with.
What's the first rule of Fight Club,
Mike? We'll debate it, and there's some good debates about a spinning rod. There's good debates, and there's some good tips on spinning rods and what spinning rods do. One of our guides that work for us, he's fishes all his jerkbaits on spinning rods. That's what he likes. He just likes to throw them on spinning rods. He thinks it's easier. But me and George, the way we fish them, we have to have bait caster. It has to be a stiffer one. And it makes the bait do what we want it to do. So that's what we do. Nate Summers, how you doing, pal?
Yeah, I like the bait casting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, just every other jerkbait, Nate. Absolutely. You don't have to buy them all, but every other one. I believe that. Hey,
Nate,
go. How are you?
Nate, just remember, this is a judgment-free zone, trust tree type situation here. You know, you can own as many jerkbaits as you want, and we're not going to judge.
Nope. We got them all. Trust me. Go, Mez. What do you say, buddy? Mike, how you doing? Kiermeier?
No.
Kiermeier. Oh, right on, Mike.
Mike Kiermar.
Paul Batters, how you doing, man?
Simon Zare.
Size of the line is very important.
It is critical.
You know, we go between 12 and 10, as high as 15, depending on the time of the year. But absolutely mess with the lines to get your different depths out of them. Sometimes at 10, like right now, we're throwing a lot of 10-pound tests because it's cold water. We're trying to get maximum performance out of the bait. And
well, I'll give you an example.
10's a big deal.
You know, if you take a Vision 110 and you're in like 4 to 5 foot of water, and you don't want to just absolutely just train wreck the thing off the bottom, you might have to go to 14-pound line. Because you need to take, 10-pound test, it's on the bottom, 12, it's touching the bottom, 14 is going to keep it above the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like 2 foot a test.
Yeah.
But you gotta experiment with that as well also.
A quick question for you guys. You know, those two baits you just brought up, the jerkbait, the chatterbait, and there's so many variations now, so many different sizes. Historically, we've all used one rod. You know, you had your chatterbait rod, you had your jerkbait rod. Do you think we're kind of getting away from that where you need multiples now, or do you think you can still do that pretty effectively?
Well, I mean, MBR 783 is probably is a very versatile rod. You can do so many things with. It's one of our jerkbait rods, but I'll pick up a finesse jig with that all day long and throw a finesse jig on that rod.
I actually fish a shaky head on it.
Yeah, George fishes a shaky head on a lot down in,
but I'm weird.
Down around docks and stuff when we're fishing docks. I
don't think you want to. I mean, to answer your question another way, a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, a swim jig, you want a longer rod. You want the advantage of, a 7 to 7.2, 7.3 rod. Okay. That advantage is casting distance. That advantage is leverage. That advantage is a lot of things. But on a jerkbait, unless you build your style around a longer rod, and there are some world-class elite series type anglers that fish 7-foot rods as their choice for jerkbaits. They built their style around it. There are a ton of people fishing 6.9s, 6.8s, 6.10s.
Corbin's a big 6'10" guy.
They built their style around it. Mike and I, you have to understand, we're coming from a very old school, back when we fished,
I don't know about old school.
Hardcore, 6.6 was a long rod. 7 foot was blasphemy. Okay, I mean, you were like sorcery out there in the boat. That son of a bitch has got a goddamn 10-foot rod out there. So, I mean, build your style around, your style.
Yeah.
I can tell you a medium heavy, fast tapered rod is a Swiss Army knife.
It really is.
I mean, do it all with one rod.
Here in the shop.
It depends on Mike. It depends on what you like. It depends on what Nick likes.
It does. But for the guys who are trying to learn this stuff, and trying to have the right rods in your boat, you don't need a rod for every technique. You just don't. There's 5 rods that we recommend. There's 5 rods that we recommend that will be that you're going to end up with no matter what. And with mixture of spinning and casting, and 5 rods, you can get it done. Everything done on 5 rods, no matter what. So that's for the guys who are getting into it and are thinking about us and all these companies coming out with these million rod lines. These rod lines that have 15, 20, 30 rods in a rod line. It's like, what the heck, But 5 rods, we can get her done. Now,
again, to each his own.
Now, to each his own.
Me and George.
I like a multi-purpose rod. Mike likes a multi-purpose rod.
But I also like
but our flipping stick's not a multi-purpose
but I like
rod.
a specific rod too. So
our frog rods we don't use
over
for a
the
ton of other
years
stuff.
and over the years, as we get more involved with fishing and as you learn these techniques, you will specialize in what you like.
Great point, because as Mike said, and what he meant by that.
Tell me what I mean.
Just saying. As you add more, clubs to your bag, you end up with more clubs in your bag. You know what I'm saying? So if you get on a drop shot and kick, or if you live, depends where you live. Around here, we drop shot with a 7-foot medium spinning rod, but you go up on the North Country and you're fishing really light line and small hooks, like little 4 hooks. You better have a lightweight drop shot rod.
Yeah.
Or if you're a big lakes guy and you're a tube dragger, you're probably going to grow up fishing a 7-foot, 5-inch freaking spinning rod.
Or your Go-Go Gomez, where you're vertically challenged. You might have to do a lot of 5-foot, 6-foot rods. Right on, Go-Go.
Well, I've had Go-Go out in the boat with me already. Little known fact, he brings a milk crate to stand on. Just saying.
He's good, man. He does it. He does it right. But you're right, Go-Go. Your height does play a lot in it, and for certain things, your height is going to dictate that to you.
So let me ask you a question, Mike. What's number 3 on the 2021 countdown?
Well, number 3
on the 2021
on 2021 for us was the finesse jig.
Woo!
Playing the finesse jig thing. Again, we used to do a lot of it. George is a great big jig fisherman, fishes jigs a lot. But the finesse jig for us is relatively a new thing for what we've been doing. So we started messing with it, started playing with it a lot more. And this is what we've been doing. I mean, this is something that's been catching a ton of fish in a lot of different situations: largemouth, smallmouth, pressured fish, clean water, dirty water, trees, grass. It doesn't matter. It's just a smaller profile.
Exactly.
But it's a trend. It's an absolute trend that's happening right now. And we got on the bandwagon and we played with it and had great success.
So, yeah, as Mike said, and he said it real well, it's just a compact jig. That's the only thing a finesse jig is.
Yeah.
And why is that important to have in your box? Well, not every day are the fish uber aggressive. Not every day are the fish eating lobsters. Some days it's small, what they're feeding on
profile.
is small.
Yeah.
And other days you need to be a little finessey to get that bite. Be it maybe a tough situation weather-wise, be it a fishing pressure situation, whatever.
Some days I don't like a big meal, so I back it down.
Really?
Some days I back it down. Might go with
salad?
Maybe a salad, but a little bit of meat in there. But I'll back it down. Other days, man, it's full on, baby. It's the 5-course
bone-in ribeye,
yeah. And I want that. So it's kind of the same thing with the fish, and the weather is going to dictate a lot of that to you.
So the finesse jig is a major player in your jig box. So this winter when you're working on your jig box, make sure you get your finesse jig game in gear. As Mike said, I'm a jig fishing. I mean, that's how I did it for years, was with a jig. So I want to pass along, because part of this whole year in review is little hacks or little tweaks that we learned. And I want to pass along a couple things that worked extremely well for me. And Mike fishes a lot of the same stuff as I do, because we fish together a lot. So right now, our finesse jigs of choice are the Z-Man, David Walker, Cross-Eye Power Finesse Jig, and I know it's a big name, but what I like about this jig is a couple things. I like the fact that they have a mustad needlepoint hook.
Beautiful.
I like the keeper, although the keeper can be frustrating when you want to change your trailer.
What's that called? The cross-eyed
Power Finesse.
Power Finesse, Kate.
And I like the fact that they leave the weed guard extra long.
Yeah, Z-Man.
Because we trim the weed guard to our personal preference. And we have done jig fishing shows ad nauseum in the past, and you can review those for that. The second jig that I absolutely will not, the boat will not leave the dock without, is from our good friends at Greenfish Tackle.
That's a great jig, man.
If you're not familiar with the guys at Greenfish,
what's the name of that jig, George? That's a great name.
This is Itty Bitty.
Itty Bitty. Love the name of that thing.
So Greenfish is a small custom shop in Georgia that, I mean, they put the emphasis on quality, custom, and I'm here to tell you these two jigs, what got me going on these was the hook and how they fish. So the Greenfish has the traditional finesse cut, which is the little haircut deal. Both of them are wire tied. Both of them skip incredibly well, and both of them are phenomenal at not getting hung up. Reason being 60-degree flat eye hooks. Okay. Now here's my hack. Well, it's not really a hack. Here's what 2021 learned me. One, there is a new crack dealer in the U.S., and their name is Berkeley. And they are peddling power bait max scent, which is bass crack. And I'm pretty sure the feds are coming down on us at some point for the quantity that we have on hand. This stuff they eat. I've averaged like 5 fish a trailer on my jig. So this is their 3-inch chigger crawl max scent, and they frickin' eat this thing, man. And it fits perfectly on these finesse jigs. Secondly, this one here, you can pretty much use one pack for like every 5 years. This is a Z-Man Boar Hogs. Kind of an under-the-radar bait for Z-Man. And here is the hack. So what I do here is I cut all this off. Okay? This all goes. And I'm left with that. And that fits that like that. And as they say, that's a shit. I mean, this thing skips. It is extremely durable. They flat out eat it. So that was our 2021 finesse jig mods. First was bass crack, and second was boar hogs. And we fish these jigs on 15 fluoro. We fish them on a 7.1, 7.2 medium heavy rod. I've been toggling back and forth from a 853 NRX to a
7-foot medium,
7.2 medium heavy
7-foot medium St. Croix.
So I've been fishing the 7.2 medium heavy X Pride.
Oh yeah, very good.
So those two rods have been toggling back and forth. The 15 fluoro is perfect for these finesse jigs. And I'll tell you, the last, not just 2021, but 2020, everywhere we went.
Yeah, we really got our taste on the
everywhere
2020.
We went, we cracked them on finesse jigs. Almost more than we cracked them on regular flipping jigs.
Well, and a lot of you guys too, you know, this is a smallmouth killer. It really is. It's a smallmouth killer. It's
deadly.
The smallmouth freaking eat it. And I'm telling you guys, maybe I shouldn't, but you guys got to start flipping wood on, for smallies, because, just do some wood flipping for smallies. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Maybe I shouldn't have said it. Maybe I should have held it off, but
it's big.
It's a lot of fun. It can be really, really, really rewarding for you. So check that out. But also, Greg DePalma is a huge finesse jig guy, the Minnow jig, he's worked hard with those guys on that one. It was, so it's been around, but it's been around.
What's the most famous finesse jig of all time in the history of man?
The Bitsy Bug.
I almost said it.
Watch your mouth.
I'll just say,
I'm
hey,
not- tell you
hey,
what,
hey,
I'm
right.
I'm not going to break the McKellens out that much. He gets a little wound up on the McKellens.
Well, every now and again, I'm going to drop the old bomber, and I don't mean anything by it. It's just, it's
You damn
all
near
good.
did it.
But
Yeah.
this is a family show, and I'm not about that.
It is.
It has nothing to do with the McCallens. It just,
I'm going to back you down.
I got
on
excited
McKellens.
there. I almost dropped it.
I'm going to go back to getting you. I'll get you a nice sippy cup here in a minute.
All right, so 2021 year in review, how we whacked them and stacked them.
So far,
Who's
Chatterbait.
next?
Second was the jerkbait. Third was the finesse jig, and fourth,
Not necessarily in that order.
not necessarily in order, but fourth is the rattle trap.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, come on, the rattle trap's been around for 30 plus 40 years. Who
Yeah,
knows?
you better go. You better go
No.
over 40.
You think it's been that long?
I guarantee it. I can remember catching them on a rattle trap when I still had my diapers on.
So it might have been 40 years.
That's better.
But again, it comes down to the baits, the change of the baits, the way that the industry has changed up the design of the baits, the shapes, the tweaks that they have done to it, and that really made some of the techniques that we do a lot easier, because they nose weighted them more. They did different styles of weights on them that make the bait fall more nose heavy, so that when you want to yo-yo, like we've really got into a lot these last couple of years, but really this year too, last couple of years has been really good with it. And but I applaud the bait companies, for coming out with all the different shapes and sizes and colors, and really keeping that bait relevant. I mean,
and you know how that happens, don't you? The pros tell them what they need. So
yeah.
I mean, we had
they do.
In the beginning, there was a Bill Lewis rattle trap,
Right?
A damn fine bait that catches them to this day, like
crazy.
But you are a bait company, and you have your pro come to you. And I'm going to talk about Jackal here, and I'm going to talk about Spro, for example. And your pro comes to you, and he says, I need a lipless bait that falls nose down. Boom, the TN70. Boom, the Aruku Shad.
Yeah.
You are Strike King. You are whoever, and your pro comes to you and he says, I need a bait that falls horizontal and wobbles and floats down. Boom. Red Eye Shad. Okay. You are a company, and your Florida pros come to you and they say, I need a single knocker bait that excels in spawn seasons on grass lakes. Back in the day, it was the Excalibur rattle trap from Excalibur, which is now Booyah. So this is how this progression takes place. And as anglers, we choose to learn these baits or not. But at the end of the day, we, because we're always striving to do better, we have picked up on this thing. And you've heard us talk about yo-yo in a trap like forever.
Oh, yeah.
And when it's cold, you better be good at it.
Well, yeah. And some other things that came about this year with the rattle trap was the fact that I feel like it became a bait that was relevant again. You know what I mean? Like the fish were looking for that again. The fish were kind of,
it's on a high cycle.
The fish are, maybe they're keying in more on bait fish. Maybe they're keying more on that type of stuff. Maybe they're maybe the pressure is bringing the bait back. I don't know. But here again, these are trends. These are trends you definitely want to try to get on. And we got on these trends, and I'm telling you, we caught, and another thing about that trap, we caught some hammers on that freaking thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we caught some giant fish on that rattle trap. And
well, we almost set a smallmouth world record on our last live episode. But that's another story for another day.
That is another story.
But that was yo-yoing.
But so all I'm saying is that some of these baits we have in our boxes right now, guys, and you're not throwing them, you can throw them again and you can fish them the same way you did, which is chucking and winding, and they still work. Don't trust me. You can chuck them and wind them, but now there's ripping them out of the grass. There's that catching the grass and ripping it out. Now
that's how our spring started.
Now there's yo-yo, and now there's all these things that you can play with. And if you play with it, you'll get confidence. And I want to say that a lot of our top 5 is the confidence that we built into it this year. We just built confidence into these baits that we just had confidence to throw these baits.
When we picked that live, when we did that live, our last live, and we were yo-yoing at Aruku, there was no question in my mind that thing wasn't getting eaten.
Right.
No question whatsoever.
Well,
and it did.
I had to tell you to pick it up and throw it.
Well, I was trying something else.
If you remember, he was,
I was off on a tangent.
So we go, I'm going live, George. So he picks up some bait that we didn't get bit on the thing all day long. And then he decides, and I'm like, why do
what
I
was
live?
doing was I was waiting for Corbin to offer a bet.
Yeah, and then he did bet.
And then I freaking, I got the freaking howitzer out and put him to sleep. But my point is on these traps, we started our year off this year trapping grass flats. Well, the beginning of grass flats that were going to become spawning areas. And we drug these traps, bomb casted and drug these traps, nose down on these flats, feeling for grass and then popping. And it was great. It was great success. It was a great search technique. Mm-hmm. Then we transitioned into dirty river cold water, and we went to red, and we went to a lot of orange, and we yo-yoed because we had to get bit on that drop. And we didn't mess with it much in the summer anywhere that we fished. I don't know why. We just didn't.
You should.
We didn't. I'm just breaking down 2021.
2022. Market, Dewey.
Yeah. Then we got into the fall and the winter, and we got on that, bombing flats. And then we got on that. If you'll recall, last fall, the biggest fish we caught were bomb casting flats with rock ledges on them.
Yeah.
On a TN70, and we caught, just like 4-pounders like they were on sale at Walmart.
Awesome. It was awesome.
And, this year we did a little bit of that. We did not have the bait fish present, that we couldn't find them. We went over miles and miles of water looking for this bait, but we finally got onto that yo-yo technique. So the trap, and I think the reason the trap made our top 5 was not for the numbers of fish it yielded, but for the sheer size of the fish it yielded.
Definitely had.
We caught a ton of big fish.
I think all these baits, though, honestly, everything we're talking about tonight was our big fish baits.
And no doubt.
No doubt. The chatterbait with the swim in the chatterbait, that dropping, the jerkbait on the right cast with that. And fishing that jerkbait in the right situation, and some of these little different techniques we did with that, the finesse jig flipping into the trees and doing that kind of stuff, man, we caught some hammers doing that.
So,
and now rattle trapping.
So, we did all that, but what's next?
Well,
what do you got?
First of all, I want to say, Antonio Gomez, another thing with traps is the sound. So we come out with one knockers. They come out with tungsten BBs.
I thought he was talking about the sound system in his Triton.
So
and
then so that whole thing, that whole rattle trapping thing definitely has evolved a bunch for us. But our last thing that we got to talk about, and then we're gonna get to Nick's.
We're gonna slow down,
and then we're gonna get to Nick.
Andre Albanez is all worked up that we haven't had any finesse. Andre, we are power fishermen, but
yes, here we go.
Drum roll, baby.
Here we go. The Ned Rig.
Good Lord.
Good Lord, the Ned Rig. Now, you you got to know that we were going to talk about the Ned Rig, because if Corbin was here, well, he'd be hanging off the ceiling right now if we didn't talk about it. He would be so jacked up.
I mean, we caught big largemouths pre-spawn.
Yep.
We caught spring, summer, fall, winter smallmouths all over the place. Mike and I called out a
whole entire limit.
A whole limit and weighed in.
And won a tournament on it this year.
We weighed in the biggest limit weighed in our tournament circuit that we fish on a freaking TRD.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a time, there is a place.
Bobby.
And we have some.
There's Bobby right there. See, I knew he was watching.
Yeah.
And I knew Bobby.
He's a lurker.
I knew Bobby was watching. Right there he is. Corbin Gottwalt, CG, how you doing, buddy? Wish you were here. You knew we were going to talk about the Ned Rig.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That thing is and
we tweaked it.
Here's a funny story.
We tweaked it.
Yeah, but here's a funny story. You know, the Ned Rig for me was like, I mean, honestly, at the beginning, it was like, what the heck do you do with this thing? It was so difficult to think about, so difficult to try to fish this thing. And I was schooled on it one day. And sometimes that's what it takes, guys. Sometimes it takes somebody whooping your ass and showing you that you need to switch up a little bit here. And that's what happened to me. I was fishing along my stuff and I was catching fish, but this guy was hammering me on these big fish with this bait. I'm like, this is unbelievable how this thing's working. And finally, and you guys heard me tell a story, because this is how I got started throwing Ned Rig. And I finally stopped and said, give me one of these things. You know, picked it up, tied it up, hooked it up, and not kidding you, the first cast I threw it out, I caught the biggest fish of the day for me, which was real nice fish. I was pushing 4 pounds, and I just could not believe this little bait catches these big fish. Well, fast forward, what now, 6, 8, 7 years, I don't know. And we're using this thing to catch big fish all the time. It's a big fish catching machine. It's something that you definitely want to throw. Me and George are the kind of guy that we throw it on a weedless head. We like the weedless head. We feel like we can throw it in places that nobody else is throwing it and kind of get it through there a little bit more. Plus, we're fishing it a little longer. We're not retying as much, so we're getting more time fishing it. So it's, that's why we like weedless. But it's just a bait that just caught us some big fish and had great moments throughout the whole year. Nick.
And the other thing is special about the Ned Rig. Last week, I think it was, we talked about baits that, you got to have.
Yeah.
And the Senko was one of them.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody's in your boat that just, doesn't have a whole lot of experience, if you give them a Ned Rig or a Senko, you can't go wrong. And they catch big fish.
They do.
It is a big fish catching machine. It will catch you key fish. You largemouth guys, I'm telling you right now, you don't need to throw the big TRD, although that's a great bait. But there's times where you don't need to throw that big TRD to catch a big fish or catch a key fish that you're looking for. Sometimes if you're in an area, there's big fish and you're not getting bit, you downsize to a Ned Rig and drag it through that area. I'm not kidding you, man. It does some stupid stuff. In our particular tournament we were getting like bites, and we were seeing fish. We were getting these bites, and it just wasn't happening. And we just switched up to that bait, and it was amazing. We caught almost every single fish except for one out on that Ned Rig, and it happens all the time. That's just one example that happened to us this year, but it happens all the time. And you will catch 4s, and you will catch 5s, and you'll catch bigger. In the largemouth side, you'll catch them up to 6s and 7s on it. It's amazing bait. I like to fish it on a 852 medium action 7-1 NRX rod from Loomis. I also fish it on a 7-foot medium X Pride. I like it on that. There's a lot of rods. Some guys like it on lighter rods, like the 6/8 medium extra fast rods are really good to fish on there. The braid to fluorocarbon works really super well with this technique. And A lot of times we'll do a 10 or a 15-pound braid, and then you can match your leader to wherever you're at, you know, which is nice. You can go to an 8-pound test leader for some of your open water stuff, and then you can go to 10-pound test for your more cover, you know, heavier cover docks and stuff like that. So it's very versatile. It's grass, it's docks, it's rocks. They got a head for now that you can fish up in 1,000 Islands in 40 feet of water. They got how heavy is that big one?
A third of an ounce.
A 1/3 of an ounce. So you can get it down, you know, at least in 30 feet. I don't know about over that, but 30 feet, no problem. And bounce the bottom with it. They got heavier hooks in it for
well, and that's
different type of
that's
stuff.
kind of my thing. So my big thing with the Ned is adjusting the head for where you're fishing. Now, what do I mean by that? So if I'm just standard light line, you know, back in the beginning, when the Ned Rig first was formed, it was strictly a finesse light line technique, and we used the standard finesse shroom head, which has your light wire small hook, okay, between a 1 and a 1/0 hook. And that's great for that circumstance. But when you go, for example, in my world, when I go up north and I get on the St. Lawrence River or Lake Ontario or Lake Erie, and I'm fishing, you know, for 5 and 6 pound smallmouth, I need a bit more hook. So I opt for the Pro shroom. Okay. And the secret with the Pro shroom is that we're going to a little bit of a heavier wire and a little bit bigger hook. It's a 2/0 hook. Okay. So I got a little more bite. I got a little more less flex in my hook because I got big fish in current that are just trying to just wreck my world. And this hook is gonna contain them. Plus, this head, as Mike said, is made all the way up to a 1/3 of an ounce. So I can fish the bottom in 30, 35 feet of water. If it's a calm day, I can fish it deeper. So, you know, that hook adjustment. Now, if I'm largemouth fishing and I'm fishing a standard Ned, I like to go with more of a text pose type of a rig so that I can get into the treetops. I can get into the boat docks. I can get into the real snaggy wood situations, but my hook is exposed but tucked on the top of my bait. So I'm going to do an EWG. I'm going to do the Ned Lock EWG, which gives me a little heavier duty mustad hook that's gonna hold up to those bigger fish. So I guess my point that I'm trying to make to you all is, you know, take into consideration the type of fishing you do and adjust your hook to suit. For example, last show we talked about the football Ned. Okay. That's a tweak. The big TRD. Well, the big TRD needs a bigger hook, right? So we're going to have, you know, the power finesse. So in other words, my takeaway from 2021 was my Ned Rig hook box grew from, you know, one style of hook in 3 slots to like 3 times that, because I go up north, I fish largemouth, I do this, I do that. You know, make your adjustments on that hook and trust the Ned. My second takeaway from 2021, and I started doing this in 2020, is getting the crack out, the Max Scent, the flat worm. Okay. You know, everybody's flat worm crazy. It's the ultimate drop shot bait to obtain right now. But I also put them on a Ned head. And particularly on a tougher bite, or particularly on really cold water situations, I've had fabulous success on this bait. So I want to leave you with our last bait that we're going to review before Nick intervenes. and I want to leave you with one of the tricks that has really produced some big fish for me. I've had several over 5 on this, smallies, and I've had this produce for me on really tough bites, and that's the flatworm on the Ned head.
Like that. I like that.
Well, you know, Mike, it's just. Remember that trip up to the Thousand Islands 2 years ago? If it wouldn't be for that, I'd have been a hurting pup, right?
Yeah, that came through for you big time.
So that's where I started doing that, and
I was whooping your ass good all that whole time.
It was ugly. It was ugly. It was ugly.
Um,
So that's our 5 now, Nick.
Well,
All right. So I'm definitely going with everything you guys had. I mean, that's proven,
yeah,
you know, but we got to have a little fun too.
yeah.
And who doesn't like top water? All right. And this year,
You don't see any buddy shaking her head here.
all right, that's great because this
Not
year
me.
was a good year for top water. You know, I
Absolutely.
fished a lot up north in the New York area.
Yep.
And I learned a little bit. You know, I'm going to show these baits real quick. We have Walk the
Here,
Dog.
let me hold them for you, Nick.
Yeah, if you want to hold them, I got Walk the Dog baits, you know, the Zara Spook and also the Sexy Dog. Okay.
Those are your 2 favorite, Nick?
They're my 2 favorite. I mean, there's a lot out there,
There is.
but that Sexy Dog, especially that color.
There you go,
right
Mike.
there,
There's your focus.
that sunfish color. I learned up in New York this
Turn
year.
that a little bit, Mike, like this. The other way.
Yeah, it's kind of
Perfect.
crazy. Those 2 colors right there, the one knocker Spook and the other one's a Sexy Dog in like a sunfish color. They were prime, but what was crazy up in New York was the waves. I mean, George, you know, the waves can get crazy up there. You got a lot of wind blowing.
Always, right?
And you know, a lot of people think, you know, nice calm day, you know, taking that Zara Spook or something over. I had 2-foot waves and you had to use it faster. You just had to crank it up another notch, and they literally jump out of those waves and attack your top water.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it because they were huge, you know, smallmouth, and it was just a lot of fun. And I got to do that at a couple different places this year, namely Lake Champlain, but it was a lot of fun. And top water, who, like I said, who doesn't love
Everybody likes top water.
So,
man.
Nick, the biggest lesson I ever there's a couple lessons in my bass life that I learned on Lake Champlain. One of which was taught to me by the dean, Pete Gluzik, who helped me out immeasurably one time, and the other was self-taught on Lake Champlain many years ago, free fishing. And I came out of the hotel, you know, dark 30, and was so jacked up. I ran up to the lake. I threw my boat in. I took off. It was a gray, cloudy morning, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to destroy these fish. And they wouldn't look at any walking bait I had. And, you know, I ended up catching them on a spinnerbait. And this happened time and time again until finally I was instructed by one of my peers that those fish up north, they don't like a top water on a cloudy day. Now, what was your finding on that?
what
Because
you
I
just
crushed
said
them up there on sun.
was exactly right. You know, if it was bright and sunny, they would leap out of the water
Yeah,
4 or 5 feet. I mean, it was
that's
crazy.
true, Mike.
Yeah.
And you thought every one of them was a 6-pounder when you seen them jump out of the water, you know. But some of them would jump over your bait, some of them would grab it. But it was all in that colors too. You had to change up your colors, just like you guys talked about earlier with each bait.
Yeah.
But George, you're exactly right.
You know what's interesting, Nick, about your discussion here is when it comes to walking baits, every pro, every article, every interview, everybody throws bone. And you don't.
Oh, not that I don't. You know what I really like to throw the color bone on is the Whopper Plopper.
Okay.
I love the bone color in the Whopper Plopper. When it comes to the walking baits, for me, I just like to stick with natural.
And I don't necessarily throw the bone either. And referring back to Lake Champlain, and really I've taken it from Lake Champlain to all over the north to even home on the river here. The Super Spook not the junior, but the super spook in a saltwater color called silver mullet, which is kind of like a white belly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They eat it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter as long as the sun's out. So,
Now, here's a question for you, George. Now, I'm throwing them on straight braid. That's me.
yeah, I would say, and I go back and forth on this, and I've said this on this show numerous times. My probably, if you push me in a corner and say you got to rig your topwater rod up for the last time of your life, I'm putting 50-pound Power Pro on, and I'll throw everything from my Donna Ivino Splash It to that big Super Spook and some other ones that we don't mention.
And I'm with you 100% because the co-angler I had, you know, he's seen that I had straight braid, and he goes, "You're not going to catch them with that." And I ended up catching, you know, some big fish with that bait.
Yeah. And I've gone back and forth between that and copolymer. I don't see a difference in the catch rate. I brought the same thing you're talking about, and I was really excited when you said you were going to bring your 2021 pick in. I brought that home here years ago from up north, and Mike and I many, many times in seminars, talking to customers, many, many times talked about the best topwater bite of the day on our local river here starts at 10 a.m., 10:30, and goes until whenever. Now, am I saying there's not a morning bite? Am I saying there's not an evening bite? No, there is great morning bites. There is great evening bites, but consistently speaking, those big giant flats that are out here on this river in the heat of summer, from 10 in the morning on, you will have epic topwater walking bait bites. Now, my pick for that scenario, Nick, to go with what you're saying, I will probably only ever have one bait tied on under those shallow water conditions, and that's a Mega Bass Giant Dog X. That's a bad boy right there.
That's another great pick.
It really is. It really is.
Well, I mean, as walking baits go, they're definitely some top picks right there for sure.
So, guys, I got a question for two questions for both of you. We talked about 2021, and that's exciting stuff. But you know what? We're almost in 2022.
Yeah, right on.
And you guys want to get fishing. We don't have hard water yet. All right. So, for you guys, name the first bait you think you'll catch a fish on in 2022. And
well,
also
2022's in 2 days.
Right. And also tell us a technique that you want to improve on personally in 2022.
That's a good question.
That is a good question. My first fish in 2022 is going to be, well, this year, because of this warm trend, is going to be caught on a jerkbait. Normally it would be caught on a TRD or a small tube. But this year with this warming crazy ass, we're going to be fishing like it's spring. And I'm going to catch them on a jerkbait, you know, at 8:30 a.m. on Sunday. But that's just me.
Sunday. What about Saturday?
Oh yeah, I got my days mixed up.
Yeah, Saturday.
So the technique that I want to improve on, and I really like that concept because for years and years and years, one of our kind of like staples of life here at SFT was every year of your bass fishing life, pick a topic, a technique that you're not totally boned up on, and spend the whole year trying to apply it on every single trip that you take. If you do that, at the end of that year, you will learn the ins and outs of that technique, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that's been something that, that's been one of our SFT, that's been a dialogue of ours forever. So for me, for this coming year, I am going to focus a whole lot more on some of these new finesse rigs. And I've really been paying attention to what Ike's been doing with his chicken rig. And it's not me. I'm going to chicken rig I'm going to get all chicken rigged up.
Hell with that thing, man.
I'm going to be Mr. Chicken Rig.
When you start catching giants, it's going to be just like Ned Rig for me. I'm gonna go. All right. I'll try it.
I mean,
I had a conversation.
I'm not saying, bro, that I'm going to be like finesse.
No, I'm just saying.
I mean, usually I don't even bring a spinner rod with me.
I've told a lot of people there's just all these rigs. These freaking rigs, man. They're killing me. They're killing me. Chicken rig. What are some other rigs, Nick? That are crazy.
Oh, there's that new one out where you.
We ain't doing that.
Yeah, that's slingy.
But the cool thing is,
we're not doing that.
The cool thing is, there's something about the chicken rig that caught George's attention.
It catches fish.
Well, I mean,
it's catching fish. It really is.
It's basically a Texas rig.
Yeah, with a sliding sinker.
With a drop shot sinker that emphasizes the strength of a finesse bait. Okay.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I wanted to learn the Nico.
Yeah, Nico.
Okay. The thing that got me attracted to Nico was that whole pull point.
Yeah.
That we talked about in detail on our Nico show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm done talking here, bro. I want to hear what you got.
Well, I mean, with the weather pattern the way it is.
I know you're a master.
I am a master
of techniques. But you have to have a weakness.
I do have a weakness.
I mean, I'm talking fishing wise.
I do. I really do. And I'm going to go with my first fish of 2022 just because of the weather, Nick, is going to be, and where I'm going to be going because it's close to home. Not going to travel this time of year. You want to be close to home, fish some waters that you're familiar with, safety, cold water. It's going to be a jerkbait. I'm going to catch it before George does.
Oh.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed going to catch.
I always catch one on my first cast.
Bro, I know, but your first cast takes about 30 minutes to fish
45 is my record.
Because he's rigging rods. He throws this long line out and he props his rod in the corner.
I see a little wager here.
There will be.
Oh, yeah, I guarantee you. And
we fish on New Year's Day.
It's going to be
every year.
It's going to be a jerkbait for me because the water temperature is legit for it. Okay. And I
might catch one on Chatterbait.
And we fished a jerkbait very well. We do. We fished a jerkbait very well, and we're very good at it. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I fished it so much that I know exactly what the water temperature weight is, how I'm going to catch this fish. The other thing we're going to do a lot of too is Ned rigging and
so
fishing a tube, even a little 2.5-inch tube. But
I want to hear what your technique of 2022 is.
I suck. I'm saying this on live. I suck at crankbaiting.
Oh!
I did not see that coming.
Yes, I suck at crankbaiting. And crankbaiting is, in my mind, crankbaiting is on a uptick. There's guys catching giant fish on crankbaits, and I don't know. I'm not good at it.
Did you wish Uncle David a happy birthday on Facebook?
I did.
Because I was going to say, if you didn't, your karma's going to be all messed up.
I
for
did.
This year.
No, I did. And I just feel like
I sure enough did.
I'm not so much deep diving crankbait stuff, but the square bill, the flat sides, understanding that. I mean, look at how many flat sides we've sold this past year. We've sold tens of thousands of these things, and I suck at it. I'm terrible.
That's surprising to me because that's something George really likes to use.
I know, and he has some success with it. He'll say that he has great success with it. I haven't seen it.
Who?
I haven't seen it. We've had great days here and there, but I just feel like I don't understand when to throw the right bait and I know guys that go crankbaiting, that's all they do, which is, I think, a wrong thing. And there's guys like me who do this, and that's all I do. That's wrong. So I need to become a well-rounded angler for 2022. And one of the things I need to do is I need to learn, the square bill, the flat side, here again, the colors, the speed, the presentation, the line size, the rod, the hooks, the whole shimmy shangy. I need to work it all out. And that means having 2 rods rigged all the time with a crankbait on it, and starting with that, although I'm not good at getting my butt kicked. Guys are going to be whacking fish in the back of the boat, and I'll be chucking this crankbait, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to mess with it, and I'm going to come up with something there, and I'm going to try to make it work.
Now, what about you, Nick?
Well, in your guys' opinion, going to the crankbait thing, is that something that you can work on a lot here on the river, or is that somewhere
everywhere,
everywhere?
Okay. I mean, you tell me why we can't smash them on crankbaits on the flats. Why isn't that like? Why aren't you catching like giant? I've had a couple good days crankbaiting down there, and I never expanded.
What?
I never expanded on it.
With a 1.5, I've done very well down at the flats.
I saw you catch a 24-pound bag one day on a BDS 3.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I had that great on a BDS 3. I had a great day on it, and to this day I throw that thing all the time. But I don't know. I'm just not. When I didn't catch him on that the next time out, why wouldn't I switch to something else and try to make it work? Why? And there again, there's a time and a place for a crankbait, time and a place for a jerkbait, time and a place for all these baits we talked about, and you need to work through it. But I don't know the right time and place to throw the crankbait, so that's what I'm going to work on. I know how to throw a crankbait. Everybody does. You throw it out, reel it back. You mess with the speeds. You mess around with this. I watched Kevin Van Dam personally. I was lucky enough to do that, bro.
I might have heard that story.
Fish. I tell it all the time because it was the greatest experience of my life.
How about you, cameraman Nick? What are you going to catch your first fish on this year, and what are you going to better yourself with this year?
Okay, so I think my first fish is really going to come on a Kitech, 3.8, and I think it will.
And you have a spot for that already.
Yeah.
Because you got your brand new boat.
Yeah,
and you're going to put all your graphs on,
right?
And you don't want to go too far from home.
No, and it's going to be about a 1/2 ounce jig head.
Really?
Oh yeah, and
on a fish it deep or straight?
Oh yeah,
straight?
Deep. I'm gonna just tick those rocks down there, and one of them smallies just can't resist.
Oops.
Yep, that's what's gonna happen.
And how are you going to better yourself next year?
I got to better myself. You know what? This year I really started to use the Carolina rig a little bit.
Yeah.
And I want to dive into that a little bit deeper. I think that's an underrated rig for me. I know a lot of guys love it, and I want to utilize it a little bit more.
Well, the Carolina rig is definitely an old school technique that's being revived. We actually are going to have our very own Greg DePalma is going to do a Carolina rig / electronics seminar at Bass Fest this year.
I'll be sitting on it.
He's been sending me all kinds of PowerPoint presentation information. I mean, he is getting dialed in.
Lord have mercy.
So, the Carolina, Mike and I finished second or fourth.
That was our second place finish
in a tournament this year on the old ball and chain.
Right.
So
with the electronics.
And you know what, guys? I would like to do it again. I know you do a technique on a show. There's nothing in the books that say we can't go back. I would like to do the Carolina rig again next year. I mean, we had Greg on.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really do the Carolina rig any better than he did. He brought some stuff to the table that was brain
always
melt.
Does weird stuff it just freaking flips you out. It's like, bro, what in the hell?
I'd like to revisit that for next year. And the other thing that I would really like to hear from a personal point here to all of our awesome listeners, I would love for you to go to our Facebook and put in just one each, not a list, but one each of a technique or a topic that you would like to see the Tackle Shop Live team delve into for
2022
next year.
Yep.
And you know, we would really be interested in reading that. And if you could, while you're at it, maybe just hit that like button a little bit, smash that out, send it out to share, maybe jump over on YouTube, press some buttons too.
Yeah,
guys, we're running a little long here.
Let's
people,
look at.
People got things to do.
People want to know. People want to know about some tackle too. So
I got some tackle
what
for
came
you.
in hot? What's hot?
They
what's
call
happening?
me the tackle guy.
Yep. What's happening?
So
what's new, exciting?
Again, you know, we every week we like to talk about what's new, what's hot, what's not, and there's a lot new. You know, our tackle deliveries still roll into the shop here. We are getting to the point where we can't even hardly walk in our warehouse, which is good. Our showroom floor is stacked. We are receiving a ton of shipments of high demand, hard to get products. We're getting a bunch of G Loomis rods in, a bunch of NRX Plus. We've received 2 or 3 shipments of Megabass rods this week. We got in, and they're not on our website yet, but they're here. The Destroyer P5 BFS rod, which is bait finesse system, which will be a 2022 show. We're going to talk about BFS. And we got their bladed jig rod in. We also got the NRX Plus bladed jig rod in. So the whole bladed jig rod thing is just getting just torched up. And those shipments are rolling in. We got some really big Shimano shipments in this week. We got some we got a really nice delivery from iRod. Matt Newman brought in like a bunch of rods for us. We are iRodded up, and there are a few small changes there, but nothing crazy. Bunch of iRod in the house. We got just bait deliveries from all the bigs. We got a big Megabass order in.
Kitech.
We got a huge Kitech delivery in. Kitech is expressing some concern about the first quarter of next year due to shipping lead times and all this other BS, but we decided to fill the warehouse.
Yeah, but FYI for all you guys, you know, this is going to be another one of those years we're being told by all the manufacturers, come, you know, early summer,
get it.
You better have it. So, you know, make sure you get it. And we got it.
We got it.
Got tractor trailer loads.
And you better get it.
It's here. It's in the warehouse. We can't even walk back there anymore.
We got a giant Z-Man.
I told George to buy some tackle.
Oh, we bought it.
And by God, he freaking bought it. And we don't know how we're going to pay for it. So
keep your eyeballs on sfttackle.com. We do not speak Matt's praise enough or often enough. Matt is our webmaster who basically works tirelessly on our website, and he is building pages. For example, you'll notice our missile bait page is being updated right now with a bunch of missile additions. And guess what's on the way, people? The mini swim jig. Tracking numbers have been acquired.
Oh,
Matt is working on the pages. The baits should be here on Monday or Tuesday.
Yep.
And they are sexy and they know it.
Yeah.
So they're all coming in to go up with that missile mini D chunk and on and on. I'm not going to keep going on products, but I do have a prediction based upon some fish that Mike and I caught at, I forget which tournament it was, but earlier this year. I'm going to predict something that made a big splash last year is going to make a huge splash this year. Now, I've been catching fish on these baits everywhere I go. This is the Strike King Hybrid Hunter Jr. up top and the Hybrid Hunter down below. And it's, you know, they call it a hybrid between a crankbait and a swim bait. I don't know. To me, it's a crankbait. It's got a lip. You wind it in. But I've had great success with this around vegetation. I've also had great success with this in shallow, rocky environments. So I predict. There you go. I just want
Couple announcements.
I want to end up with a happy new year and pass
Yeah.
the table to you guys.
Yeah. So we are going to be open tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock. Me and George will not be here. We're out. We're out. We're going fishing. So, JR, I'd love to see you, buddy. But Caitlin's going to be here and Mike Pools, and you can come in and walk the shop and spend all your money. I wish I could see you, bro, because, you know, we love you. And but we're going fishing. We got a little window. The freaking weather's beautiful. I don't know how you can't go fishing. And I hope you guys don't get mad at us, but I think you're probably excited that we're going to go fishing, because guess what we're going to do? We're going to go live. We're going live tomorrow. Nick's coming with us. He's going to go bring the camera. We're going to go live, and we're going to have a great time, and we're going to catch some fish, and we're going to go live with you guys to you know, the last time for 2021. This is it, man. We got to wrap it up tight.
The last hurrah.
Last hoorah.
Let's do it.
John Wernick, brother, happy new year to you. And I hope you're doing well. I know you're going to recover through this. You're a strong dude, and you're a hell of a fisherman. And we need you back to do some serious fishing and show us some great musky pictures and some great smallmouth pictures. And we're wishing you the best, my brother. And, you know, get better soon. So Johnny, come on, bro. You can do it. You'll get through it. No problem, pal. You got this. Brian Ward, thanks a lot, man. Good seeing you again. Keith Howard, thank you so much. Happy New Year. David Schottmeyer, Don Roeder, man, you're such a great guy. The kids are just enjoying your stuff. Thank you so much, Don. You're just a great human being. Everybody, thank you guys so much for 2021. And we're going to work hard again for you guys for 2022. And yeah, this is kumbaya, but you know.
But Mike, speaking of 2022,
yeah,
you guys got something pretty cool coming pretty shortly.
Yeah.
We got Bass Fest.
Yeah. So as of right now, we are full bore, 100% full forward on Bass Fest.
Committed.
We got Greg DePalma coming. We got Dustin DeMarion coming. We got Gray Buck coming. We've got some other great seminar speakers that we're working on, plus stuff we're going to do.
We have some awesome, super knowledgeable reps.
We got some great reps going to be here.
Anglers.
I don't know if you guys have never been to Bass Fest, but Bass Fest, you know, Bass Fest.
We got Ryan Buttermore coming from Mega Bass.
Yeah. I mean,
this guy knows it all.
Bass Fest is where you're going to come and you're going to learn a ton of stuff. You're going to see a ton of stuff. You're going to talk to the guys. You're going to get your answered questions. There's all kinds of great fishermen walking around in here that you can pick their brains.
Kickoff of the new year.
And it's the kickoff for
it's the Catalina wine mixer, bitches.
It is. And so we're working hard on that. We're hoping that we can kick that off without a hitch. Everything's closing, but I think we're going to push it through somehow. If we can't, we can't, but we're gonna work hard to push it through. So you guys are going to be hearing a lot about that starting on Monday. We got advertisements all done and ready to go. It's going to start kicking off, and we're going to push that through. We got Skeeter boats coming. If you want to see the latest and the greatest of Skeeter boats, we got G3 boats coming for jet boat guys. We got
those guys might be bringing something special too.
Wow, they might be bringing something special.
I heard there's like a Frankenstein coming.
Might be a Frankenstein boat coming.
A rock eater.
But Bass Fest is a ball. So make sure you make it. And that's going to be a kickoff for our season. We're excited. We're excited big time about it. And plus you'll be able to get to meet cameraman Nick. And Corbin's going to be here. Me and George are going to be here. So all the guys from Tackle Shop Live are going to be here. You can pick our brains and talk to us and meet us for anybody who hasn't.
Go will not be here.
Go-Go's knee replacement. Go is always here, but
Go be high kicking. He'll be here. I believe in you, Go.
Well, Go. We'll do something special. We'll go live. That way we come to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, guys.
Yep. To everybody.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's.
Sorry we ran long tonight, but we were having fun.
We were having fun. Happy New Year's, and we'll see you next time on Tackle Shop Live.
sunny day. Right there, you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day, you called me up. You told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down low and I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your beautiful smile. Your sense of humor makes it all worthwhile. Don't make me wait, it's not a funny game. You know just what I feel. Please tell me your love is real.